What's up, everybody? It's Chad. I'm back again with another episode of Ask Chad Grassy Logic. Can't talk today. I'm here with my friend Kaytlinne and Justin of Gray Moon down in Jal, New Mexico. So you guys are the very eastern south tip of the state, pretty much, right?
Yeah, like very, very bottom corner.
Yeah, just like right over there. Yeah, it's a little small area. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves and talk about it more because you're from the area. But thank you all for joining me. We're gonna have a great episode today. We're gonna talk about them because Sunland Park isn't the only area that touches Texas and New Mexico. So it's great to have places elsewhere in the state, especially like somewhere like Jal, because you don't always hear that. But if you look at the sales, you guys only have like 6 dispensaries, but like everybody's like over 100K. In sales. So you guys are doing pretty good out there, especially yourselves, and your cells and everything. So congratulations on that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, yeah. And if you guys could go ahead and introduce yourselves, like I haven't actually had the chance to really, get to know you either. So this would be great.
Yeah, so I'm Justin. I'm originally from Pecos, Texas. Graduated in Monahans, Texas, and actually met Kaytlinne in Odessa, Texas when we started first talking and everything. And then we started our family, moved down to Jal, and since like 2023 started our cannabis journey.
Yeah, and then I'm Kaytlinne, so I'm from New Mexico. I grew up here in Jal and in Eunice, so both in this bottom corner, so I've always been around here. And then I went to college over there in Cruces and stayed there for a little while. And then I came back over to Odessa, and that's where I finished up my degree in biology, and that's where I met Justin. And then we ended up starting a family in Jal, and when everything went legal, he was working in the oil field industry, and I was working in the mining industry, like by Carlsbad, New Mexico. Mm-hmm. And we just ended up, going into this, 100% back in, I think we started the company in like 2021, and then everything was able to be like greenlit, and we were able to start in like 2023.
Crazy. So did you guys think Jal was going to pop off like this, like it has?
So like I ran the numbers. I was sitting out at work one day, and I just, like most people, just like really hated my job, and I was getting like dreading the drive to come home on 128. I know it's one of like the most dangerous roads in the state, so I didn't really want to do it every day. And we had just went legal like that day, and I started doing a lot more research on it. I was at that point in the time when COVID, I went back to being a user just to handle the stress and everything. I was so tired of hiding it, like dealing with it with work. I just started like looking at the avenues, and I knew having a family, it was going to be hard to do anywhere else. Everyone, thinks of Hobbs and Carlsbad as like real easy spots to try to jump into because of the population. And I knew I could only really go to like Jal where we were at that time. So I just did the numbers, and I pulled like traffic data, and I ran statistics on, cannabis usage and sales, and actually people that shop in the rec market versus traditional. And based on the natural highway traffic, we ran the numbers, and it looked like it would be good, and we actually undershot it. So I was really happy with how everything turned out.
No, 100%. I was really curious about that because, you have places like Sunland Park, and Sunland Park kind of makes sense because it's right next to El Paso. And, within 60 miles of Las Cruces is 3.5 million people because, Juarez and El Paso within the area. So, there's still quite a few people in the area, but, where you guys are at, it seems a little more remote. I mean, I know there's some Texas cities that are really close, but not as close as like El Paso. So that's why I was really curious. And then you guys have 2,000 people there, right? Like how many people live there?
Yeah, there's only like 2,000 residents here in town, maybe a little over, but we do have a lot of like RVs and parks that have a lot of people that are transitioning and working in the area. We just have a lot of traffic through our city because of all of the oil field that runs through like Eddy County and Lee County and all of the surrounding parts. Jal is just kind of like an in-between point that a lot of people drive through.
Okay, so kind of like, if they're going back to the oil fields, they kind of stop through gas station kind of thing and then head out kind of situation.
Yeah, 18, just the highway on is kind of popular. We have the casino in Hobbs, so a lot of people travel just to there because it's like the closest casino to them, and they have stuff in Hobbs.
That's so funny how often Texans come to New Mexico for other things other than cannabis too. So it's kind of like, well, here's some weed too. Do you want it?
So on the highway, so it's really convenient for them.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and we'll talk about more about the shop here in a little bit too, because I really want to dig into that. But who got who into cannabis, or were you both into cannabis when you met? So who was the pothead?
So in high school, I was actually against cannabis. All my baseball teammates kind of like consumed it a little bit and kind of embarrassed me in my favorite sport, and it kind of steered me away from cannabis. And then I met Kaytlinne after we had our first son. I mean, it changed my whole perspective on the drug.
So me, I smoked all throughout high school. I have smoked all throughout college.
Yeah.
And I was a closeted user because whenever we first started dating, he made it very clear that he was kind of against it. And I was like, oh man, so I can't really tell you about it yet. So yeah, whenever we had our son and he was really having trouble sleeping, he was working in the oil field, I got him into it with edibles. Just, this will help you get on the road. I'm tired of you not being very safe. Look at all the things that we've been able to do, and just kind of turn him into it and show him the medicinal side, because I was also able to get, my grandma into it whenever she was going through chemo, got my mom off of opioids because she was on those for pain. And it was something I've kind of just made everyone kind of accept and transition like the whole family to.
Yeah.
I was a closet consumer all throughout high school. I'm sure if people see this, they're not going to believe it, but like, it has always helped me manage stress and be more functional. And I think it's a huge tool. And I don't advocate for it like for minors or anything, but I use it all throughout college as a tool to help me manage work and jobs and college and life. And I'm a huge advocate for it in all ways. Like I'll always push it over pharmaceuticals.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And real quick, Justin, the way you have your hand, it keeps making the thumbs up emoji. That's why it keeps popping up. I was wondering myself. I was like, I didn't even know it did that. And I was like, I looked at his hand. I was like, oh, it thinks he's putting the thumbs up. That's hilarious.
No.
Now we know.
Yeah, no, super big pothead. I get everyone into it.
No, 100%, and that's kind of what I've been doing, the past over a decade. I've been in the cannabis industry here in New Mexico since 2013, and I really try to push on the vets because I'm a vet myself, and you kind of went on the same mission, but on a different side of things. You're a parent, you saw relief in it, and you wanted other parents to have the same relief too. Do you run into a lot of parents now that kind of you can relate to when they come into the shop?
Yeah, no, we have. It's a small community, so we have had people come in just on recommendations. Hey, I've heard this, or hey, you were able to get this person this pain to go away, whether it just be by salves or by edibles or just in general pain management. We've helped cancer patients, we've helped just people with insomnia, sleep issues, and a lot of people with arthritis pains. And we don't just push, smoke. We try to make sure that our tenders are really knowledgeable, and we try to attack in any way they're more comfortable with.
Awesome. And that's great to hear, because you guys really care, and you care about the medicinal side too, because some people just see it as just a cash cow, boom, 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 we're going to get in and out. If you're really passionate about it, you're still going to do good at the end of the day, and you guys are, really passionate, and I could tell. So that's great. And, congrats again. But, speaking of, being a small community, since you're so close to Texas, how many of your customers do you really see from there, outside of the local community, of course?
So I wish the local community support was a little higher. I really do think, since the negative stigma is still abundant around here, no one kind of wants to be seen here, and we do hire a lot locally, so I can see why more people still outsource and they go to hubs and bigger towns. Most of our support is from Texas.
Yeah. That's interesting. To hear that, because there's not much to select there, and then they go to Hobbs. How far is Hobbs from you guys?
About 45 minutes.
Oh, okay, so that's not too bad, but still,
it's not too bad. Yeah, we have to go get most people have to go get groceries there, so I still see why it's very convenient. And right now, Hobbs's prices are crazy. I mean, they're very, very low down there.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's kind of a state thing. Even here in Cruces, Sunland Park, it's a race to the bottom. And a lot of places, I keep telling them, if you can hold off and not meet them at the race to the bottom, you'll be okay. because that race to the bottom is only a temporary thing. It can only last for so long.
Yeah, and that's what we're trying to do just by trying to maintain quality, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. You know, and yeah, if you maintain quality and everything, you know, you're going to be great. So like, what cities do you really see from Texas show up at the shop? Really, you know, do you see a lot of bigger cities, or is it more like the Midland crowd, or maybe the Odessa? Because I know they're about hour and a half, hour 15 from you guys.
Yeah, Monahan's.
Yeah, like Monahans, Midland, Odessa, majority of the oil field workers.
Yeah.
It's surprised. I mean, I was surprised when I was out there at random locations all the time, asking random people like, where are you driving from every day? And they were like, you know, Midland. I'm like, dang, you're right here by Carlsbad. You drive over here every single day. It's just blew my mind.
Yeah, no, and I was surprised at how many, just in general, with 18 being I guess a traveler's highway.
Yeah.
And a trucker highway, we get a lot of people from all over. I did like an analysis on our customer base, because I know you don't have to take their IDs, but just for our loyalty program, and I think it's better if we can go ahead and look at a patient's history and say, if they can say, hey, I really liked what I had last time, and just tell them exactly what they had last time. So we don't kind of make it an option. We take everyone's ID, we make them account, and we track their points and make sure they always get all of their stuff. And we're able to track where they live with their ID, and that tells us that we, with all of the truckers, we're actually seeing people from all over the country. We're able to see people from Hawaii, New York, you know, Maine, Oregon, just people, Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
Everyone who's just naturally passing through on 18.
Interesting. So it's more of I wouldn't say a trucker stop kind of town, but it kind of feels like that.
It's just like a traveler's. It's a traveler's stop. You know, we have quite a few gas stations on 18. There's a Pilot up north of us. We have a few small, really awesome food places in the center of town, where if you go in, so there's places to eat. But really, yeah, it's like a trucker's travel stop.
Interesting. Oh, well, maybe you guys should put some gas pumps in front.
we have one next door. My mom has a service station next door.
Oh, that's hilarious. Oh, that's great. So, you know, it kind of pull them in from that way. That's awesome. You know, it also gives you guys an opportunity to know, where your customers are coming from. Because I've been hearing a lot of people are advertising in Texas on billboards, you know, like, you know, freedoms, you know, this direction or whatever, you know, they have on the billboard. So, I mean, that gives you guys opportunity to do the same thing in the future if you want to, which is, you know.
Yeah, we actually do.
Oh, that's great. Oh, what do you mind if I ask?
Yeah, we already do. We have one in Monahans. We have one in Kermit. We've been thinking about putting another one up in Pecos. We looked into Odessa, but it's just crazy. Like the monthly billboard rates in Odessa and Midland are kind of unaffordable right now.
Yeah, yeah. And that's funny because, you know, it's another state. So, you know, what was Mexico to go to do? Yeah, because, you know,
guys don't have issues with it. So,
yeah. They're kind of like, well, it's in Texas. So what do we do? Yeah. So it's like, all right. But there's billboards in New Mexico, too. So, I mean, they shouldn't have an issue with it anyway.
Yeah, we follow all the general guidelines and advertising guidelines that we have to. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they don't have an issue with it because there's nothing wrong with it. But it being in another state is hilarious to me because, you know, like I hear about it from people from out of state sometimes. Like, yeah, you know, I was driving in, I saw this sign coming in from, you know, Odessa or something, and, you know, freedom's this way, or, you know, you're 20 miles from weed this way, and who knows, it could have been one of your guys' billboards. But yeah, like what does your billboard look like so that people know, you know, because my listeners from all over too, you know, I got a lot.
Oh my God, they sent us some. That's so
funny. Do they really send you that when you do billboards?
No, I guess because we have a few with this company. They sent it to us a few months ago, like as like a customer appreciation thing.
But that's how they all.
But that's almost basically how they all look, and then they all say like how many miles away and stuff, and.
I love that. That is awesome. I love that. Oh my God, I was not expecting that at all. You actually have a miniature version. That's cool. Thank you for showing me that. By the way. Yeah. She's like, oh, it's right here. I was like, I thought it was a trophy at first. I was like, oh, that's cool.
No, we got that in the mail, and I had the same reaction. I was like, what is this?
It's funny how they just surprise you sometimes with those. You're like, what the? Oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Well, yeah, thank you for that too, because some people are weary or are kind of curious about when it comes to advertising and stuff like that. So when another business really gives their point of view on it, it kind of changes their mindset, and then they are, because we're a legal business now in New Mexico. We should be treated more like one, and people should feel like that too. And there's a conversation more I'll have later on in the show about something like that. But I want to continue it on with us and everything. So tell me some good and bads that tell me some of the with the goods come the bads. Tell me some issues you guys deal with over there in Jaw that are kind of unique to your area, because I mean you guys are far from Santa Fe, you're far from kind of the other cities in New Mexico other than Hobbs and Carlsbad and those guys. What are some unique issues?
I think just the distance in general has
Yeah.
caused us a ton of issues, whether it be like for transportation costs and
Mhm.
just getting our money to our bank, or getting our products down to here, getting flour down to our manufacturing facility, or construction.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get jobs done down here in the middle of nowhere.
That's
And
true.
that's caused us probably the biggest issues with growth and delay down here.
Interesting. Do you see kind of the city kind of growing a little bit more because of the cannabis, or is it kind of?
I think it's in general been growing a lot lately. I've noticed the city's been taking a lot of initiative and putting back into the community for the past few years, actually. They've
Yeah.
been developing a lot. But I do think cannabis has enticed a lot more people to move here. We've had a lot of customers, ask us about housing down here because they live in Texas and they're tired of it, but they still work around the area and they're looking into JAL just so they can be close to family and still be in this legalized state. I think that if it follows certain trends that other states have followed,
Yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, because that's what it sounds like to me. Like the cannabis refugees
Mhm.
is what they're called sometimes when they move to another state for the cannabis, especially for medicinal reasons. So JAL could be this little community of cannabis refugees that kind of showed up, which is interesting. I'm curious to see come year 5, because that's usually when a market is very stable or becomes fairly stable, is about year 5. Curious to see what happens, especially with JAL down there, because you guys, are doing a lot of big things for such a little area, like I said, like Southern Park, they only have 17,000 people there, and they have number 2 sales in the state, so I mean, you guys are doing pretty good. And when I look at the sales, I'm like, Jaw, oh hell, what the hell? Because I look at everybody's sales, I look at all the numbers and everything every month and all that. So of course I looked at you guys before the show, and I was impressed. So congratulations. Yeah, I was like, I wonder how Jal's doing. I was like, only 6 shops, because the last time I checked, I think there was only 3, and now I guess 3 more popped up.
Yeah, and I think there's going to be more coming too, unless like the city puts in more like zoning regulations or anything.
Yeah.
I know when the last one popped up, it started like a ruckus on the bulletin board, so I think it's going to get more attention now.
Yeah, and the city's been pretty welcoming to you guys. The cannabis industry. That's good.
Yeah,
That's good to hear.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I'm from Alamogordo originally. Like it's where eastern New Mexico starts, I guess. And so it's a very conservative county, but they have been open arms even more than Las Cruces with the cannabis and everything. It's been easier to open up there than in here.
I feel like most of the cities have been, in general, really welcoming. I did some licensing in like the delay of getting up, like when those construction delays. So I started doing some consulting and getting some other people up, and I've talked to a few other localities and stuff. In general, they're all really welcoming. If you just go straight to your zoning planning committee and you just let them know what you want to do, talk to people and include them, you're not going to get much pushback. And if anything, they'll help you.
Yeah, I mean, they're all about business, which is great.
Yeah, seats, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And last year when we had the town halls we were doing, we kind of figured that out too. We found out that Eastern New Mexico was very cannabis friendly, especially in Hobbs. We found out that Hobbs, they were just giving them hugs essentially. Like, oh yeah, come on, oh we need help with this.
There's a dispensary opening every week over there still.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, all that Texas oil money and everything coming in. I have friends that military friends or friends that just are from Texas. That tell me, yeah, I go to this place or I go to Carlsbad, and they're asking me, where should I go and this and that. And so now I have another spot to send people to, because you guys and everything. So speaking of, let's talk about Gray Moon a little bit more. And I know I talked about the area, and I really wanted to knock that out because like it's just such a unique area, and you guys are in such a unique situation. That it's actually exciting to really look at the numbers and look at it and go, oh man, that's cool. So where did the name come from? I mean, like, where'd you guys really come up with that?
So it's actually our kids' middle names.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so our oldest is Jackson Gray and our younger boy is Colin Moon. So I just went with both of those. I thought they sounded really solid together. I really didn't. I went to a seminar that got into, why you should really stay away from names that really sound cannabis, just for banking and for legal stuff and just for ease. So this didn't sound anything like it, and it was something I really cared about, and I was cool with it. And their logo is actually the moon that we're all born on, so super simple. I went with like the Target and like Walmart method, or not Walmart, Target and like Apple method.
Yeah.
A super simple logo. I try to make it really easy for design and more memorable.
Yeah, a kick and draw kind
really
of thing.
easy to land on. And we just kind of went with it after we bounced on it and thought if we'd be happy with it long term.
Yeah. And
it was just there from it was just like that.
I see why you guys are doing so well. I mean, you're very smart because there's a lot of the things that you thought about. I've been preaching to people for years that they just don't do and still don't do. Like staying away, something simple, staying away from cannabis names, like because banking, that is going to be your biggest issue. Or even something simple as dealing with a contractor. The moment they hear cannabis, it goes up 700%. So what was maybe $500 is now $3,000 because you just said the word cannabis, or the word cannabis is the name. And there's still a lot of stigma around it. And so if you veer away from that, it makes it easier. And here at Ask Chad Grassy Logic, I work with Adam's radio group, and we do on radio ads. So it makes it harder for us to advertise for people if they have cannabis in the name. But if they don't, we can just say their name on air, and there's no big deal. So someone like you guys, it'd be so much easier, So I don't know, maybe reach out to your local radio station and see if they want to do that, because they can just say Gray Moon. So there's a little tip for you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. But yeah, I'm just letting you know that that you guys are going to be doing great for the long term because you made the right decisions early on versus trying to fix them now. And of course, your numbers also reflect that too. Because it's a steady numbers. It looks really steady for the long term. And you guys just set yourself up in a really good place. So yeah. The preparation to where you're at now is really what you're at. I'm curious to see, year 5, where you guys are going to be at, and maybe you'll have more shops. And speaking of, do you have any plans of opening elsewhere in the state?
So yeah, we are looking into it right now at a few different places. But another thing we're focusing on is our manufacturing facility and growing out our wholesale brand on that.
Okay.
We ran into so many issues with getting product down here. We knew that there was going to be other companies in this general area having the same issues. And we got a manufacturing facility and have an operable kitchen. So we started whipping out edibles. We have an inspection next week, like our final with the environmental department. And we're getting ready to expand our wholesale menu just to get more edibles out there from this side and kind of fill some of that gap for some of these smaller places that can't afford all the weekly transport from Albuquerque for all those products. So we have our hands really full, and then we have our grow in construction. That's been in construction for like the last year. I know like a lot of people, electrical, getting that done with the greenhouse is a monster. Permitting has been a monster.
Yeah.
So we're steadily in delay, but that's honestly just to help us sustain later. We know at some point we'll need to be able to have, our own in-house budget options and something to lower our manufacturing costs down the line when prices crash. So we're just kind of trying to prepare for the future so we can ride it out.
Yeah, and you have to prepare for the future anyway, because the success with Texas is only temporary, unfortunately. You guys might be doing all pretty good because you're in more of a rural area, so they can kind of shop more and they're closer. So because for a while, when Texas gets set up, we'll still be okay because, you have the rule process, and then they have to get the licensing going, and then they have to get operating. And then for about the first year, the quality is ass because that's the way it's been everywhere that goes.
And the prices are
the way it is.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that they might as well just keep coming to New Mexico for like, the next year. So, we're still about 7 years out, 5 years out. If we're lucky, 10. But you guys are still you're prepping for the future, versus just sitting there like, well, we're making a lot of money now, we're just going to sit on this, I'm gonna go get a boat, we're going to go to Belize. Yeah, it sounds great, right? And one day you'll get there, but making the right decisions, longevity, you guys will be good. And I think you're headed that route, because I was going to ask you about the grow if you guys had one, or if you're thinking about doing one, especially out there. You guys would kill it.
Yeah, so we've been working on it for a while. It's just like everyone else in the state. We've had delays with construction. We've had people not show up. We've had so many issues with this greenhouse kit. We've actually gotten to the point to where it's looking like now we're going to consider doing an indoor, like all on the same property, just because of where timing is starting to overlap and where things are starting to make sense.
Yeah.
But we're going to get there at some point.
Yeah. So who's the grower? Are you the grower, Justin?
I'm going to try, honestly. Yes, sir.
So we have a few consultants, one from out of state and one that is actually putting together the greenhouse kit for us. Finding someone to do a light depth kit with the system and all of the automations is actually harder than we thought in this area. And to get someone to come down here and do it for that extended period of time. Yeah. So we had to pull someone down here from North Carolina, and this is all he does. Mm-hmm. So he also is on as like a consultant, and we've been looking for a grower. There's just no one that really wants to relocate to the area. So we know a few other growers around the state that are doing in general the same thing. So Justin was going to go ahead and take it on with all of the help that we have, and just make sure we have solid genetics, and we're going to go ahead and man it down here.
Yeah, well, good luck to you, man. Just as long as you stay to the recipe and stay true, you'll kill it.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I'm just worried about that sun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. My best advice to you is get a 4x4 tent now and start growing right now. Unless you already are, then you're ahead of the curve. But yeah, I always tell people, if you're going to grow on a scale, you need to start growing now. So
yes,
yeah.
Sir.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, I've been growing for like 12 years, so I get it. 100%. And if you guys have any information on, some other contractors or something like that, hit me up. I might have somebody, that might want to go out there, and get away from civilization, because some people would do like doing that.
No, absolutely. Awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because, you guys are going to do great. But so tell me, what products do you have at the shop? I found out you have your own. But what other products do you have? I mean, I see the what is it, the High Cultures shirt right there?
High maintenance.
High maintenance, yeah, high maintenance, my bad.
Yeah, no, so we do carry high maintenance. We carry a lot. We carry like flower from across the state. We try to work with small guys, and we do have to work with big guys too. We have a ton of edibles, same thing. We try to carry everything. Same with the vapes. We carry everything from like carts to the disposables. We also started carrying the tobacco vapes, like the geek bars and stuff, because we had so many people coming in asking them for normal vapes. They're like, oh, we thought you had normal vapes. And we realized there was a hole for that here, and there's not a tobacco store here in town.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was just actually nowhere to buy them. So we went and got a license for that, and got with the alcohol and tobacco division and the cannabis division, and they all said it was okay. So now we sell that. We do sell like the alternative mushroom stuff. It's a huge market down here. So as soon as everything goes legal, we'd like to fill that gap down here as well, because we're also like shroom friendly.
Yeah.
Awesome. We sell tons of topicals. We sell glassware. We sell we try to sell everything, at least something in each category. We sell to our budget guys. We have like budget friendly items. For like our wax, we have rosin at the top. We have mid tier, which is like diamonds and live resin. And then our bottom, we have like our budget and our BHO. So we try to serve like every part of the customer base that we can. Make sure everyone can come and find something that they'll be happy with.
No, that's smart. It's what the customer wants, not what you want. I don't know how many times I have to tell that to people.
Yeah, inventory is a nightmare, but
yeah, I'm sure it is.
I do like it.
Yeah, the customers I'm sure appreciate it. They keep coming back, and I'm sure they tell their friends, and word of mouth spreads, and Texas is a big state, so word of mouth goes a long way. And like you said, a lot of your customers come from around the nation because of the truck drivers, so they got friends too.
Yeah, and I mean, in general, with him being from Texas, like he's from Monahans and Pecos, and I went to college in Odessa. We were actually like had friends from over there that were like, "Oh, that's super cool," and they come down and visit, and then they tell other friends. So we've been able to have some client base from over there too.
So that helps you guys out a lot too. Just being able to pull from that and over to this way. I mean, that probably helps a lot. And smart at the same time. You guys are using the resources you have, and some people just don't know how to do that.
Yeah,
it blows my mind.
We always talk about it. We're kind of always advertising. We just wear our own shirts and our gear all the time, and people just ask, and we're always super transparent about everything. And then we just, if they're interested, we tell them, just come give us a visit and we'll help them out.
Yeah, a lot of Texas folks don't realize that all you need is just a driver's license, a valid ID to shop with us. Everybody still kind of thinks that you have to have a medical card. And
maybe that should be on the billboard next.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no medical card needed.
I think on the billboard in Monahans, it says only need a valid US ID 21 plus.
that probably helps. I'm sure that helps a lot because some people just they don't pay attention.
Yeah, and we do. We used to get a lot of calls. I'm not at the dispensary as much anymore, but I know when I was there, we were getting tons of calls asking, hey, do I need a medical ID to shop there, or are you on rec? So there was a lot of confusion at the very beginning.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, the very beginning makes sense, especially when adult sales started. There was a lot of confusion. I told people, one of the first things I told them, I said, your worries starting tomorrow are going to be night and day different from what they are today. And sure as shit, the very first one, why aren't patients being seen first? Why aren't patients being first in line? And I was like, there it is. There's your whole different issue you guys didn't even think about. So yeah, and that's the same all around. And you guys were no different there, with like the issues that you dealt with. But yeah, so do you guys do any events over there? Do you any like pop-ups or kind of anything like that? I know it's a small community, but
Sometimes, sometimes we'll have vendors that come down and they do pop-ups at the store. We had like an annual anniversary event, and then we had one for opening, and we run a bunch of sales. But in general, just because of where we are, there's not a whole bunch of turnout. There's turnout for the sales and the deals we're doing, but unfortunately, the vendors don't get a whole lot of love.
We're gonna have to create like a cannabis big old festival down there or something like that to draw people.
We do Dank in the Desert around 420, and that gets a lot of stuff over there. But the last couple of years, we haven't been able to go because we've been so busy down here.
Yeah.
And but I wish there was something like how in Albuquerque and over there in Cruces, I notice y'all always do like get-togethers, and there's a lot more community. There's not a whole lot of that over here, and I wish, at least in Hobbs, because it's drivable, we'd be down for stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, maybe it's time to create the community. It takes a while, but I think y'all can do it. You got the organizational skills.
Country music and weed, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe have a 2-stepping country weed night.
It'd be perfect. Date nights.
Country.
And one thing that's really catching on too are the cannabis drinks. You guys can maybe host a cannabis drink mixer night kind of thing. That's something that's really kicking on, and to be honest, that's going to be the future of cannabis.
Yeah, drinks. I think so too. We have a ton of people that come in, and they'll just come in and buy out their max in whatever drinks we have available, and they just come back the next time and do the same thing.
Dang. Yeah, see, I told you, I keep telling everybody, the drinks are the future of cannabis, and I keep getting, I keep proving everybody wrong when they tell me, it's not. I'm like, the signs are there. It's all there, dude. I hate it too, but it is what it is. And to be honest,
casual, it's just easier.
It is. It's less offensive to more people. There's no smoke. There's no secondhand whatever to anybody. Little Timmy isn't gonna get cancer and have to be on crutches or whatever.
And it is. Edibles are the safest way to ingest, so it probably be better health-wise in general for everyone to switch over.
Until your tolerance skyrockets, then you just want to chill out from all that sugar, honestly.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've really been pushing for too. Is once we do allow more drinks in like restaurants and or a cannabis bar or consumption lounge, or if they decide to allow cannabis alcohol and cannabis drinks to be in the same place with regulations between the two, that there needs to be a lower milligram of cannabis in it, like maybe a 5 to 20 max, because someone can green out really easy when it comes to drinks too. So that's another thing with it, because with the nano emulsification, them working within 10-15 minutes like alcoholic beverage does now, you could see it working faster. And if someone does 3 shots of T8 of a cannabis drink, they might be snapping around the corner, and that's no bueno.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think with the drinks that there's just so many things you can do, but I've noticed some on the market. It's just the infusion process. I think if we get past the whole separation in the jar, the consumer would like it a whole lot better if it looks good on the shelf. They don't have to mix it up and do something to it.
Yeah, I agree. Once the technology kind of catches up, but we're not there. I say in about 15 years, I say drinks will be number 1. Smoking will always be there, so it'll probably be number 2. But I say in 15 years, we're going to see a total different market, and it's going to be drinks, and to be honest, I don't mind, because, I don't know how much longer in life I can smoke cannabis getting older. I'm getting closer to 40. So, it's one of those things like, I know I can't smoke forever. So
no, I've been feeling it.
yeah, me too. I'm like, whoo, man, I'm not 20 no more. So yeah, I'm feeling it too. So but thank you guys so much for joining me on the show today. That's really all the questions I had for you, but I'm going to continue the conversation with you guys. We got some other topics. Is there anything you want to add before we go? Because I want to make sure you guys tell everybody where you are and where to find you online.
No, not really. Just you can find us online at graymoonnm.com, and our Facebook, if it's up. When it is, the same thing at graymoonnm, and Instagram, same thing whenever it's not recorded at graymoonnm. That's about it. I appreciate you for having us on.
Of course, anytime. It's been a great conversation. Y'all are killing it. You're going to do good for the longevity. You guys are set up at a good location. You're lucky having her around, man. She's smart.
Hey, brother.
I was like, dang, you guys are doing good, man. But yeah, let's continue the conversation on. We're going to be talking about recalls in the state, and I'm sure most of us in the state have heard about it by now, and I'm sure you guys have as well. So there was a recall that happened that the CCD enacted last week, and now pretty much every media outlet from New Mexico to a few national ones have picked up the story. So I figured I might as well share with everybody and kind of give everybody a detailed what's going on. So what happened was we had a certain producer, and it looks like they had an unauthorized pesticide that they use with their cannabis crops. And then they went into a bunch of different products, and it went throughout the whole state. And so now they're trying to get all those products back. One thing that's weird about it is they had tested these products back in November. So these products tested for those pesticides almost 8-9 months ago. So these products have been in the market for a while. So that's one thing that kind of worries me, is what took so long. Now, was it the fact that they jumped from testing facility to testing facility until they got passed, or was it something else? I have no clue. But that kind of worries me, because that means that we have an issue in our industry where something like that can get out and stay on the market for that long, unless there was some heavy manipulation going on. For the sake of everyone's health, I will share who the company was, and it is documented to, through government documents, so it can be backed up. It's WH Agriculture LLC, aka Maggie's Farm. As you guys know, Maggie's Farm originally came from Colorado. They're one of the OGs who were around when cannabis legalization happened in Colorado and in Washington around the same time. But Maggie's they were located there, and they are here in New Mexico now too. So it's unfortunate that happens. But if you guys do have any Maggie's Farms products on hand, call the dispensary that you got it from, see if they can get you a refund or maybe a different product to replace it, so that way they can take it and properly dispose of it. And that's the proper way to go about it when we have a recall. It's pretty much standard. If you get a recall from somewhere, either you contact the manufacturer or the store you got it from. It's usually the store you got it from. They take it from you or reimburse you, whatever. So that's just standard when it comes to it. I was kind of curious, how many goods get recalled a year. I was just kind of curious because this is the second time this happened this year in our industry, and it fluctuates from 11% to about 40%, which is weird. So yeah, like that's like nationwide, with goods like food and stuff. So that's kind of alarming because even at 11%, that's quite a bit of goods that gets recalled every year. So twice in our industry, seems alarming, but at the same time, we're doing better than most other goods. That means that we are regulated, but the fact that this happened, 8 months ago, is alarming. Real quick, before I get other opinions and, other stuff too, what you guys kind of feel about this, I want to tell everybody where these shops specifically are. And I got this from a news article, this part. So the dispensaries that, people bought these from is our Greenleaf, and that's going to be in Sunland, Alamogordo, Las Vegas, Carlsbad, and Albuquerque, Loud Cloud in Albuquerque, House of Blaze in Albuquerque, Everest Apothecary in Albuquerque, Berlin, Los Lunas. So if you bought any products from Maggie's Farm from any of these locations, give those locations a call. Do not use this. The pesticide that they had is pyrethins. I think I said that right. It's just another bug pesticide. I think it's another neurotoxin for a bug. It's not good for humans to ingest as well, especially smoke. So if you are someone who has that product, be very careful. And, if your loved ones or whatever, just check on them. I know older adults like my parents, they really like Maggie's Farm because that was one of the original ones that they got when they went to Colorado. My dad's from Colorado, so they go there every year. And he still does to this day. So I made sure I gave him a call, see if he had any from New Mexico. He said, no, I had it from Colorado. I said, okay, cool. Just still keep an eye on it. So far on this, how do you guys kind of feel about that? To me, it's a little alarming that, something like that stayed on the shelf for so long. I understand, it testing for that, but staying so long is a little crazy.
No, I think it is too, but I'm wondering who sent it back, because the last recall that we dealt with, I believe it was a dispensary who sent back a product to another lab, and then it was found tested. So then we had that giant recall.
Yeah.
Did Maggie's Farm send it back to get retested, or was this independently done?
That's a good question, and I think we'll find out as time goes, because it doesn't stop here. This goes on because the issues didn't stop for these people there. But I just really wanted to kind of hear what you guys had to say, because I know this is the second time we've dealt with it, and I didn't know if you guys were affected by the first one or not.
We did.
Yeah. So how did that go for you guys? I'm kind of curious, like how you kind of go about it. Maybe help the customer base too, kind of know what the process is.
So we attempted to reach out to everyone, and we posted, and we went through all of our protocols, but we didn't have any more on hand. The SKUs that we had that we were affected with, whenever we got them, I think we had already got them and had been sold out of our system 6 months ago. So even the customers that we were able to contact, all of them had already disposed of everything. We weren't able to get in contact with some. We sent out a mass email with everyone that we do have. And people did call in, but not for the correct products. We went ahead and we were verifying batch numbers, and we offered, if anyone was able to find their stuff, please come in, give us a thing, we'll get it replaced, and we'd get in touch with our manufacturer. No one brought anything in. And we were even offering, I even offered to the people that I was able to speak to that they had already, ingested the product, please come in and we'll get you something else. I apologize for it. No one came in for anything.
You did the right thing, by the way.
I just think that because it had been so long, it was just kind of hard to do anything about it. If it was, like you said earlier, a little bit more timely, like I think this situation is going to be the same. If anyone still has any of this product left, it's going to be the same thing.
Yeah.
Once
You know what?
Suggested it was months ago.
And that's good that you did that. You did you did over and beyond past the right thing. You guys just, made sure that the customer's good. Like even if you already ingested it, please come in. We're sorry. Like that's probably the best thing you could ever do. And the fact that people didn't, step forward and say, yeah, that I was one of them, backs up the fact that there haven't been any reports of anyone getting sick from any of these products yet, because I think people just don't or wouldn't come forward because of the fact of the stigma on cannabis. They think that if they contact any kind of government agency or even the dispensary, next thing you know, there's going to be cops at their house and CYFDs there. There's helicopters. So, I mean, I think a lot plays in their mind, and we're still with this stigma that we can't even as users seek help or, seek assistance whenever it happens. And we're getting thumbs up again. So, but yeah, and that might be the case, that they're afraid. I don't know. I mean, has anybody told you why?
So no, and then I agree with you on being afraid. We've had a few people contact me personally on times they've, gotten sick or had issues, but they would only contact me personally and, hey, you can't tell anyone, please don't, this is my issue. That everyone's really just scared. So if people are having issues, I think you're right. I think maybe they're calling their poison control and just dealing with it like that. But I don't think that many people are going to report it. And with our client base mostly being from Texas, they might never.
And that's fair, because they could be too afraid, because in New Mexico, they do recommend that you call poison control. And maybe they're too afraid to call poison control in Texas, and maybe living in Texas, they don't even know that this is going on, like at the same time, maybe, who knows. But it's unfortunate that, people are too afraid right now to step forward and, kind of let them know that, hey, I am affected by this, what can be done or what should I do? And to be honest, it might help the state a little bit more because they get numbers, they get data from this, and that could help us out in the future to prevent this. Because to be honest, this is nothing but a testing issue. This could have been prevented by, having better testing methods or something, because if this was back in November, I mean, they've known about this for a long time, and, that's not acceptable. So, I've been a big proponent of pushing for, better testing, more standardization in testing, and a little more stringent in our testing, because to be honest, I don't think a lot of the facilities have really been inspected since they've opened. And that needs to change because the dispensaries get inspected all the time.
Yeah, we actually got, I think, a mass email from the CCD about labs. I'm not sure if they're cracking down on them a bit more, but they had to turn over, all of their paperwork and anyone that's affiliated with the company, even minority partners. So I think there was a lot of stuff going on the lab side.
Yeah, and that's been an issue in New Mexico. So we actually haven't been testing our cannabis for the whole time we had medical. We just started, I think, in 2016. Or 2017 is when we first started testing our medical cannabis, and at the time we called them the Dirty 30, the LMPPs when medical. They fought us tooth and nail to not test. It's going to make it too expensive. How are we going to afford it? This and that. They try to make every excuse in the world to not test cannabis. So we're still figuring it out. We're what, 8 years into testing in New Mexico, but I kind of feel 8 years in we should have a better grip on it. And it's just sad that we don't have more testing facilities too, because I think that's our second issue, is the fact that there's just not enough, on top of not enough good ones.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, and it's not cheap, I get it, but it needs to happen. So that's unfortunate, and unfortunate for Maggie's Farm. Their issues didn't stop there. So 2 days ago, CCD also issued a notice of contemplated action. And on that was 17 violations. So not only were they found to have the pesticides in this and got the recall, I guess CCD went over there and popped them for all kinds of stuff. I mean, they even had one on there where they didn't have their license displayed, something simple as that. I think BioTrack was another one, not tracking system, all kinds. I mean, at 17, I think 19 might be the record, or 17. I think they're tied for the record almost. for how many violations that one company has got, and that's unfortunate because it kind of makes everyone else look bad too. And the fact that their legacy, I wouldn't say legacy, that they're from been around for so long in the industry in general nationwide, is kind of weird too. It's because like, well, is this happening in Colorado too, or is this just New Mexico? Because like 17 violations in a state that's only been legal a couple of years versus one through 10 years. I mean, is that one being regulated correctly, or did this just happen here? So that's one thing that I've kind of, really been curious about. But to be honest, I think the CCD did the right thing by, cracking down like this. No matter who it is, we saw even cookies get popped a couple months ago for, a violation. And now when you go in their shop, they have flyers that say pretty much all the violations they had. They say, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. I'm like, that's smart. That is smart. That way you ensure no one does that again. That's why signs exist and warning labels. Someone did it. So, but they're trying to correct the wrong. So, you can't blame them there. It's like, all right, cool, we messed up. Let's try to correct the wrong and let people know that you can't do that. So, maybe that'll happen here. I don't know. At the time of the recording, I have no clue if they're gonna get rid of the license, how much the fees are gonna be, because this is gonna be a big check towards the state that they're gonna have to pay. So I'm kind of curious where that's gonna go. What are your thoughts on that so far? I mean, that's kind of shocking to hear. It's like, okay, and then boom, they get a 17 violations and a couple days later,
I know, I'm kind of wondering if, something else happened, or if they weren't so forthcoming with inspection.
Yeah.
Because 17 is kind of crazy. It feels to me like it could have been maybe a little nitpicky.
Yeah.
And being in, like, when I was in the mines, in general, if you maintain good housekeeping, if your SOPs and all of that stuff is like in a row, you're in general going to have a pretty good, inspection.
Yeah.
But if you're not forthcoming, everything's kind of in disarray, you're not willing to let them in, and you give a little bit more pushback, they're going to go into every single thing they can to give you as many violations as they can. And I know there's a lot, I've been hearing a lot more of people not wanting to let CCD in, not wanting to be as compliant, and that the CCD officers have been having a little bit more issues with it. So I wonder if it could have been a little bit of that as well.
It could have been, because normally in the reports, they do state that they didn't want to allow them in because that's a violation. That is a violation, not allowing CCD on the premise. So usually that's within the violation. I didn't see that, but it could be on there, and that could be the case. Or maybe they were just rude to them the whole time. Just rude the whole time. Yeah.
You're allowing them to go in, but it's how you treat them.
Yes.
And maybe that CCD guy just had a bad one before, and he just wasn't going to handle it that day. So he's okay. Let's just go through and get you for everything we can.
Yeah, every little nitpicky thing. And if I have the link on my page and everything, and I've shared it a few times, and I've shared it's actually where the violations are. That's where they have the recall too. So if anybody watching, if you guys want to check it out, you can go check out the whole documentation there from the state. But yeah, 17 violations. I wasn't going to read all of them. I've done that before, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna read 17 violations and what it means and all that. So, but yeah, it's up to y'all to do it, not me. But yeah, it's really shocking and alarming. 17 violations, but you could be right. It could just been a bad day. But at the same time, why weren't certain small things done, like having your license displayed, like something small like that? I'm like, that's the simplest thing ever. You just put it in a picture frame and hang it up. You can use a 3M tape thing, to put it up there. It doesn't have to look fancy.
For sure. I mean, everything could come down to management. If it's the facility, it could have just been who was running things at that time. And like you said, it's something super small, but super small and super careless.
Exactly. So, and what that also tells me is like, all right, if this isn't right, what else is it? So maybe that could have happened too with the inspector. He goes, well, if you don't have this, what else is wrong? And so then he gets nitpicky, like, okay, I'm looking at this, and he's just looking at everything he can, because you triggered something, you trigger some curiosity in his mind. So, I mean, it could be a slew of things, I guess. And again, just reiterating, we don't know exactly what happened or how it happened. We're just kind of guessing here, because it's alarming whenever that happens, like, and the fact that it's followed up by a recall is even more alarming. It's like, oh, damn, like, things aren't going good. That's not a good week for anybody. So that's unfortunate. I hope they figure things out. And I do thank the CCD and the state for cracking down a little bit more on places, because the ones that are doing it right, it makes them look bad, and it makes our industry look really bad when we have people that just refuse to follow the regulations and laws. So that's all I have for that conversation. I'll update y'all more when more comes out. The notice of action, that means that now the CCD is going to take action and they're going to have their hearing. And after that, there's going to be one more documentation where the CCD comes out and they'll have their final ruling exactly what's going to happen. So I'm sure I'll be talking about this story one more time again when they come out with their final decision. I'm not too sure when that's going to happen. They're usually pretty quick about it, but we'll probably see it maybe fall, winter time. We'll see at the end of that. So pay attention to the show, and I'll keep you all updated. So do you guys have anything on that before we move on to our last topic?
No, I think that's crazy. No, 17 violations is a lot.
Yeah, that is. It's like, ooh, buddy. Oh, man. And I'll look more, what the violations are. I think another one is BioTrack. They weren't properly tracking the product and stuff. So yeah, it's simple stuff. Stuff you're supposed to do. It's not like too many paper clips or something. That's not a rule, but still, it's not like something.
You log into that every day, like.
Yeah, exactly, dude. You have to use it. So anyway, we're gonna move on to our last and final topic. I'm going to talk about Bright Green. And if you don't know who Bright Green is, or if you're a new listener, thank you for watching. Bright Green is one of the only federally approved Schedule 1 cannabis grow facilities in the nation. And it happens to be here in New Mexico in Grants. That's where you're from, huh? Yeah, that's where Gino's from. It's close enough. So over in Grants, New Mexico, and they've actually been around for a little bit, but they've been kind of doing other things. They haven't actually harvested any cannabis at all yet. Last time I updated everybody, the very last time, they were having events to get more funding, and they were working with different countries, because since they're federally regulated like this and they're federally legal, they're looking to sell the cannabis and other things across the seas, and I'll explain the other things here in a second. So the first update I gave everybody was they applied for a Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 substances exemption. So they can produce Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 substances, not just cannabis, which is on the Schedule 1. They want to do a whole slew of them, and I'll give you guys a list here in a second. But this is a part of that update because it got approved. So now they are allowed to grow those Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 substances. And that right there kind of intrigues me on many different levels. I don't know what emotions I should feel. Excitement, worry. I don't know which way to go. Where I get a little worried is the fact that they just signed a letter of intent with a DEA-approved cannabis extracts, plant-based, and psychedelics when Uvia operations. So they're going to start selling their cannabis extracts to this country, and then they're going to try to get it sent all over the world. Now, let's get into the Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 stuff that's approved. So on the Schedule 1 side, it's Ibogaine, which is a part of the title today, cannabis, psilocybin, and I think psilocybe is on there as well too, but they may have not got approved for that. But psilocybin is on there, peyote, and THC, or cannabis. And Schedule 2, you're going to look at morphine, opium, oxycodone, poppy straw, and thebaine. Not sure what thebaine is, but it's illegal on Schedule 2. So these are the things that they are allowed to produce and make federally in the state, which blows my mind because they have a 400,000 plant count or something ridiculous. So I'm just, and their facility is massive and they're expanding it even more. I think they spent over $2 million or some ridiculous amount of money expanding it just the past few months. And like I said, they haven't harvested anything yet. So what that means is they're going to be growing peyote. They're going to be growing mushrooms. They're going to be growing poppies. They're going to be doing all kinds of crazy shit out there. And they're going to be selling it across the world. Well, if anyone here gets popped with that, they go to jail, straight to jail. So the reason why I bring this up is because I've been trying to get a hold of Bright Green for months now. I've been wanting to have them on the show, to interview them, to have their side of this. Tell me from your side what you're trying to accomplish. What do you bring to New Mexico? Not a peep, probably because I don't give them enough money or any money at all. So we'll see what happens when I give everybody an update on that too. Let you know. I have still yet to hear from them. I know, but maybe one day I will. We'll see what happens. I mean, what are your guys' thoughts on this so far? I just want to get the information out first.
No, that's crazy. Like poppies.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, they're gonna be growing a bunch of poppies. You know, the opium is gonna be a part of it. You know, the morphine from that as well. You know, and who knows?
That
Excuse me?
opens a lot of doors for people who are maybe leery or worried about stuff. You know, they can consider doing the same thing. Maybe not to do poppies and everything, but to make sure they'll be fine here. Because I'm assuming if they get that exemption, are they exempt tax-wise?
I'm not too sure, but I do know that they can't sell their federally controlled substances to the state market. So the cannabis can't go to our market, or the psilocybin whenever we get that going, because I'm working on that too. But
It's just out of the country approval.
unless it's like prescribed under like oxycodone or something like that, or you know they make it into something else that is federally allowed to be prescribed. Other than that, yeah, they're going to be sending this across the globe to other places. They had
To process sales and write off all of those sales like a normal business.
yes,
Right, what we can.
yeah, exactly, and that's kind of like where my hangup is. I'm like, that's kind of messed up, you know, like they're the one people in this whole state that can make all of this money on this, and we don't get a penny, you know, like none of us do, you know, and our industry is so heavily regulated that it makes it harder for us. It's like, this is, you gotta be shitting me, you know.
No,
So
I mean, we already are overpaying like crazy on taxes. I know so many businesses that are going out of business just because of the taxes. And with that exemption, they're going to be able to write off every single thing they're doing, just like a normal business would, whenever the rest of us are massively overpaying.
yeah, exactly. And like I really hope that, you know, and to be honest, they're probably not going to pay 280 for the simple fact that they got approved, and they got approved by the New Mexico pharmacy as well. So they have state and federal approval. I think that they were just waiting on New Mexico to approve them, and they got approved a while ago. And it's just now that, you know, like 3 weeks ago is the most recent article I could find out, because I remember sitting here and I was like, I haven't heard much from them, and I knew something was going on, so I decided to look. And 3 weeks ago was the update that they got approved, and now they're working on this. And yeah, they may have a couple of plants, they may have a couple of buttons, they may have a couple of mycelium growing. I have no clue, but they're probably a little longer ahead than, you know, these articles are making it seem, because I have no clue. They won't talk to anybody, you know, maybe just the government. So
I like it.
yeah. You know, they're on the opposite side of the state of you guys, but you know, they're far from me too. But we'll see what happens and how this will affect all of us in the end, because I have no clue. You know, maybe it'll kill stigma a little bit more. Maybe we'll get tax revenue from this, from the state. For the state, you know, maybe we'll benefit somehow. But as of right now, I have no clue. So we'll see what happens. But that's all I have for this topic and that update. Do you guys have anything else before we end the show today?
No.
No.
You're good.
No? Awesome. Well, before I end the show, I want to thank my sponsors, Monster House and Cinder Cannabis here in Las Cruces. I know we're not at Monster House today. It's because we have a remote show. Usually we're at their consumption lounge where we do the show and everything. So next time you guys are on the show, maybe you should, you know, come down and hang out. You know, we can have a couple of doobies after the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
At the
for
Monster
sure.
House, I'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah, they're always putting on cool events now and everything. You know, it's one of the few consumption lounges we have in New Mexico. Maybe that's something that you guys need to do. Maybe do consumption lounge over there. Maybe that'll draw more of a crowd.
For sure, if you know any investors looking into it, we have to, but it's going to be a pretty big investment.
Yeah, that D. Johnson Clean Air Act gets a little pricey. 100%. Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I can't wait to have you on again to get an update. You're killing it, and congratulations. You know, you guys you're doing a good job.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us on.
Of course. And thank you guys again for watching. I'll be back next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, whatever you got to do to stay in the know. All right, guys, I'll see you next week. Shoots.
see you, Chad.